you rack mount. It's got 19 processors and...
Sorry. Unless this isn't what once was Haven Co., I think I'm still going to have a really easy opportunity to go get your data. I don't care if you own it or you rent it. I'm going to get that with a proper search warrant.
But I own it, don't I? Okay, I'm going to move it to my house because my house has special protections.
Okay, I'm still probably going to get it. Here's where it's different. With your home, you probably would be a lot more careful going over the requirements for the warrant. If you outsource your data, your computer, readily they turn over that. But if you have your servers in your house, you don't have any special protection, just that it's in your house. But I think you're going to be a lot more careful about what files that they're not going on a fishing expedition on your hard drive. So in some ways, you might have more protection in that sense. You're going to care more than Rackspace will.
And my roommate's going to let them in. I'm going to put it on a laptop, and I'm going to carry it everywhere with me. It is going to be my new best friend. I'm going to hide it under my shirt.
This is where we talk often about search and seizure in cars. If you have a laptop that is on your person or within sometimes what they call throw distance, I'm still going to probably be able to get a warrant, even with a Terry stop. If it's for some type of computer crime that I believe that you're involved with, if it's within your personal space area, I can still get a warrant for that. And you think your own, sorry.
This is my non-hacker laptop. There's no stickers, so you wouldn't even think that I was going to be hackering. I'm going to put it on a telecommunications device because that's a completely different set of laws.
And a telecommunications device such as a cell phone, that's a computer too. I am going to still get that with a warrant. It doesn't matter to me if it's on a cell phone or a laptop, your own.
I'm just going to carry the data in a very close and uncomfortable way.
And I would say with a proper search warrant, I'm really not going to have fun getting it, but I'm going to get that.
I'm going to encrypt my data.
Doesn't matter to me if you encrypt it. If I have a proper search warrant, and sometimes it might take a court order, I will still, if I was a Fed, I'd be able to get your keys or demand that you give me the key to open this up. There was a case in the state of Vermont in the United States where someone was coming over from Canada with a laptop computer, and it was suspected that there was child pornography. A lot of these cybercrimes cases in the U.S., precedent is set with child porn cases, unfortunately, but the guy said, I don't have the key, I don't know where it is, I'm not going to give it to you. And it took a couple years in court, but the Supreme Court in Vermont demanded that he had to give over that key or he was going to be held in contempt.
Does it matter if I'm Bruce Schneier?
If you think you're Bruce Schneier, I'm sorry. You don't get, as Bruce Schneier does, a get-out-of-jail-free card. When he does his security research and goes through airports and kind of plays some games with TSA, they give him a pass. Okay, you're Bruce Schneier. You are not Bruce Schneier. I'm still going to be able to get that.
I like squid. So we're all talking about data at rest here. And I know you're all going, but why are we talking about data? We need to talk about a couple of more things, and then we'll get to the awesome. Now we need to think about data in motion. Okay? The idea is that data stored falls under one body of law. Data in motion falls under another body of law. So we need to puzzle out what we mean when we're talking about different kinds of data. We need to think for a minute about personal notes and effects and where you keep your memory. Okay? This is the first kind of data that you need to be concerned about. We've given you a whole bunch of horror cases for how your data is not safe. Here's some interesting stuff about places where you're keeping data that I bet you don't even think about.
And when we go through these cases, think about what is your personal expectation of privacy when you walk into this room. The people say don't take pictures, unless we have agreed as speakers, but don't take pictures. How about if you walk into a commercial store, a food store? You walk into a casino where you know they're doing facial geometry scanning. What is your expectation of privacy in public?
So we're going to take you back to the 1990s. Anybody in this room remember the 90s? Parts of the 90s? Okay. Born in the 90s? Oh my God, there's a hand. Here's the thing, okay? The PDA, back in the olden days, you started to put information in it because you were intent on not having to remember things. we're talking about other people's personally identifiable information, because you'd have more than just their name, address, and phone number. Like the public information, you'd have things like birthdays and relationships, and you'd have events that are in the future. Under Canada, the stuff that's covered under the Canadian privacy law includes forthcoming business relationships. So this is the kind of stuff that we were packing into our Palm devices back in the early 90s. We're starting to bridge a line, though. You know, is this thoughts and memories, or is this personal notes and effects? Which body of law should it fall under? Incriminating myself or carrying my stuff? We're going to move forward almost a decade to the early uh-ohs. You have a connected PDA. So now it's something that's replicating. The replicated copies are not actually held by you. They're held by your employer or by an organization that you have a relationship with. Does the corporation have rights to stuff that you put on your device that is your memory and your thoughts and your knowledge?
There are a lot of cases in the U.S., and I know in Europe too, about if you use your employer's email and you're using Twitter, for instance, for an employer's computer, who owns that right? Like if they're keeping logs of everywhere you go, all your emails, usually you've signed a contract and you've signed away those rights to privacy if you use your employer's computer. What I often tell people is just don't. Only use your employer's computer for business-related purposes, because this is when you get into the problem of who owns your tweets, who owns your emails.
So now we're going to stretch it again, and we're going to say, okay, we're not just talking about things that you're trying to remember, but things that you're trying to remember to do. So it's a forward action. Think about cron jobs. Think about Google search alerts. This is more about asking your computer to perform actions for you or on your behalf. So we're going from remembering something to doing something to making a decision. In corporate law, this is called agency. This is how corporations run, because they can't actually do things on their own. They need people to be their actors. This is almost the invert of that. We need this not-person device to do things for us. We're already getting there. I mean, I work in the corporate world. I'm that kind of dweeb, and my Outlook is set up so that if I get a meeting request, it knows that if it fits this certain set of circumstances, you know, it's from somebody that I know and I've got free time and there's a half an hour before and half an hour after, it's going to go ahead and accept that meeting request on my behalf. The person at the other end has no idea that it's an on my behalf concept. They're presuming that there is now a relationship between us that says, I will show up at the appointed place and time. That's actually a contract. So how do we get this bright line between my thoughts and stuff that I've recorded? What does it take for a computer to become your agent?
When I was an undergraduate student at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, there was a project that some neighbors were doing, that they were trying to get a computer to be a legal entity. They wanted to get it a social security number. It was going to vote online. Oh, this was back in the 90s. That wasn't exactly possible, but theoretically. And they were going to try to get it to open up a bank account. There are obviously some federal laws there that they were, in college, were like, well, we didn't quite know what that is. We didn't go ahead and do all this, but we went through the process of what it would take to get a social security number for a computer that was acting as kind of like an AI entity.
So the biggest thing you have to remember, and we're doing a really good job of giving you second channel information, the computer is probably not yours in the traditional sense. You can't own it like you own a carrot. You're licensing almost all of your computer, regardless of your operating system, unless you built it yourself from sand and copper.
Similar to, as I mentioned with car computers, you don't own the software in your car. Most of the firmware you don't own either. In fact, I might even go so far as to say none of it. You own the leather, the metal. You can't touch those computers if they are encrypted in the U.S. without violating the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So you don't know what your car is storing about you, but the automobile manufacturing, if you have it serviced, they will know.
So we're going a little bit into science fiction territory, but we promise there's a reason. What does it take for your computer to become legally alive? It turns out that you need to have this idea of a cognitive ladder. When are you able to make decisions? This is a very important concept in law. So we've got an existing cognitive ladder in law. You make decisions at different points depending on your maturity. Can we map that to the computer? Can we get a computer to climb that cognitive law? We've already got this. We've got it for children. We've got it for adults.